This is the guide to turning on the 10-sided cave system for students at the Rowan VR Center. Specifically, you're going to need 2 keys to get in here. You're going to need key labeled 3015 and 3014. 3015, this one right here, gets you into the cave room. 3014, which it should say 30 with a 14 space on it, will get you into the server room. So now that you're in the room, we're going to come over to the left and go to the computer. The screen should be off, indicating that all the computers are off, but when you get here, they should actually be on, because I'll leave them on over the weekend. You want to grab the mouse, which should be always on the charging station. If it's not on the charging station, there's a chance that it hasn't been charged. If you move the mouse around and the screens don't come to life, then it means we need to turn on the servers. So let's go over here and turn on the different computers. Let's grab 3014. There's 3013. 15 and 14. Open the door, turn on the light, and then come over to the second rack. The first rack you can completely ignore. It's the second rack that's important. And we'll take a look right here, and we'll notice that it looks like all the PCs are off. Sometimes the lights trick you a little bit. This one looks like it's still on, but I don't think it is, so we're going to hold it in and just make sure it turns off. So there we go, now it's off. Wait a few seconds to make sure it's okay. You'll notice that there's no blue light. That's the indicator. Go ahead and turn that one on, and then turn them on from top to bottom. Okay, that should be all you need to do for the computers. Okay, with that, you can leave this door now locked. You shouldn't need to go back in there. Coming back over here, you won't see anything pop up on the screens yet because the screens are actually turned off. You can tell because there's no hum in the background of the fans working. These screens should pop up soon though. What we can do is come over here to the Crestron display, press it, and you should be given this display. And specifically over here on the side is displays on and off. Go ahead and turn them on. It should warm them up. It takes about 30 to 40 seconds. While that's warming up, you'll notice that we get our BIOS stuff over here for the master computer, which is only displayed on these 2 screens. That will take a few moments. Now, while we're having this start up, we need to take some precautions. One of them is the fact that the Xbox controller has not been charging overnight, which means that the batteries might be dead. In which case, we need to find the Xbox charger, which is right here, and plug that into the black Xbox controller. It will not work with the white one because the white one requires batteries. Now we'll see that the system is starting up across all the different screens. We can see that because we went ahead and turned those screens on. If you did not turn those screens on, you will see nothing. We hear Windows start up, and it begins to pop up on the different screens. Once that happens, we can come over to this computer. You're going to go to, let's see, and I'm trying to use the mouse. There we are. It's working. If for some reason the mouse does not work, it's not responsive. 1, try charging it for like 5 minutes and then try it again. 2, on the Crestron display, you're going to want to come over to routing, and specifically it says select your bind keyboard to source. You'll notice it says master right now. If you change this to something else, it might not go to the right thing. The most likely thing for it to go to is this bottom one down here called meeting canvas. Let's just make sure it's set to master. That way the master computer is getting the information. We'll go to mech, not administrator, but mech, and then we will type in the password, mechdyne, where the E's are 3s, hit enter. That will then start up, and then we'll begin our programs that are necessary to run everything. We can close out of Microsoft Teams. What we want to do is first we're going to open up this application here called D-Track 2. D-Track is the ART tracking system. You'll hit the connect button. This should then connect to the different cameras. It'll load up on the second screen, displaying each camera as well as the different IDs that we have set up for different objects. Go ahead and close the keyboard. We have no reason for that. If you come up here, you'll notice it says stop right here. Now this is a very rare issue that almost never happens. The camera system relies on 3 different computers to function. There are 2 back here, which we have this convenient ladder set up right between the projectors for. If we climb up to the top, there is what's labeled track controller, this one over here, and then this one to the side. And what we'll want to do is restart these. So I'm going to go ahead, and there's a power button. Okay, that one's turned off. Now I'm going to press this power button on this side, which is the top button. And that one's turned off. And I know they're off because if we take a look over here at the tracking boxes, the ART boxes, you'll notice that there's no red lights on, indicating that they are turned off. I want to go ahead and turn these ones on. Now this is where I can't remember off the top of my head because this is something I only have to do once in a blue moon. You'll hear some warning sounds, it's fine, everything's okay. But I know I'm going to need to go in and restart the main client computer that's in the server room. So there is a reason for us to go back there. Note, I'm showing you this. You will probably not have to deal with this issue at all. We're going to need to go into that server room and see if we can't. First, let's see if we can connect from this software over here. So I'm going to hit stop. We're going to close out of the software. Let's open it back up again. And if it can find it, then it's finding the master node. But the master node is not necessarily finding the client nodes. I'm gonna hit the start button really quick, and you'll notice that nothing's popping up. So it's not able to communicate. So this most likely means we are going to need to go back into the server room and reset this part. So once again, getting our 3014 key. Once again, this only happens very rarely. I think in the last 8 months, this is the second time it's happened. So specifically at the very top is the track controller PC. We're going to go ahead and hold the power down on that until it turns off. And then we're going to wait a second. And then we're going to go ahead and turn this one back on now. That might make some beeping sounds, as you just heard. In theory, we should be done with that room, but we'll find out. Now, the last time we had this issue, there was actually a disconnect in the Ethernet cables. So it was a completely different one. It's interesting that it's not working this time. So the order is either what I just did, where I turn the client PCs off, and then I turn them on, and I reset the master node. And what we'll notice by doing in that order, where the clients are first, followed by the master node, is now we do have 2 red LEDs on the sides of those cameras. So we'll go back to D-Track and run that. Come down to connect, and then look over here. And it is finding all 4 cameras. So if I hit start, and if I bring in a tracked object like these glasses here into the system, let's see what happens. So we're going to bring this. If you have 2 people, it's a lot easier to do this stuff, but I'm going to put them in there and we're going to see whether or not that object is being tracked. And it is being tracked. There's the head and there's the rest of the body. But it's tracking, everything seems to be working fine. Now we can move on to the TrackD software, which is going to route or take all the information from D-Track and route it into itself so that it can be used by GetReal. Specifically, there are 2 setups that you'll want to look at. It is TrackD 5.9, Unity 5.x, Flysticks, Xbox One, which is what you'll use 99% of the time. And if you ever need to show our dinosaur demonstration off, you would do TrackD 5.9 Dinosaur plus Skeleton, specifically the one plus Skeleton. We're going to launch that, and it'll take a few seconds. By the way, you cannot have multiple instances of TrackD running, so if you try to, one of them will crash out. What you'll be getting is a debug screen with all of the different position information being spit out every second or so. Now that we have that, there are 2 programs that we use. The legacy program is down here in the corner. It's this little guy with the blue body and the yellow head, Vizard 5. If you press that, it will open up WorldViz Vizard. This is using Python. It's legacy software for us. It has several different demonstrations that we do show off from time to time just because we haven't taken the time to port things over to other ones. Specifically, the Health Science Campus, Butterfly, Dinosaurs, Loft, Camden simulation of flooding, the medical demo, and my NASA demo from a long time ago. All of these use the Xbox controller, so you'll need to make sure that that's connected. Right now we can see it's connected because it has one light on. We are going to disconnect this right now, and then we're going to see that it's luckily still connected. If it's not connected, hold down that button and it should connect after that. And we can use these demonstrations to test if things are working. So I'm going to go over to the NASA demo and hit the run button. And what should pop up is the run button, by the way, is that green button that was in the upper left corner of the screen right here. But this should load up right here on the screens. And over here, you'll notice smaller splash screens load up. Now, you're going to notice that everything seems distorted at first, and that's because the tracking system has the glasses currently mounted down here next to this chair. In reality, when we're doing group demonstrations to multiple people, you're going to want to take these glasses, bring them somewhere like around here, and then hold your hand over these glasses so that it can't find them anymore. Once it's unable to find these, and it's really hard for me to do because I have, I'm holding the camera, I might need to set this down first, but you want to make it so that the tracking system can't see these balls, which means that it will record the last saved position. And when it does that, when you move around, it will stop moving, and you can lock it to one location when you're doing group tours. So I'm gonna have to put this camera down for a second, and I'm gonna lock the position, and all I did was I grabbed it with both hands like this on the tops, like this, and then I moved it out of the tracking area and just put it down on my desk right here so I can get it if I need it. But like I said, with group tours, you don't, and especially for some of our other demonstrations where the head orientation matters, you do not want a person to have the ability to manipulate where that position is. Okay, so now we're done with this. We've done a test. The next thing to do is to test whether or not the 3D glasses are functioning. So over here in this top drawer are all of our 3D glasses. These 3D glasses do use batteries, therefore they do die from time to time. If you need to replace one of the batteries, we do have this little tool right here used to pluck out the battery compartment, and then replacement batteries all down in here, as well as some additional replacement batteries, I believe, over here if necessary. So what you'll do to test if the glasses are working is you'll grab a pair of glasses like so, and I recommend doing this before large demonstrations. You'll bring them up over here, and then we'll look through it and see whether or not they are functioning. These ones, as you can see, are malfunctioning, most likely due to a low battery. But there we go, now it's starting to work. Sometimes they'll start to function, but this might be a good candidate to replace the battery on because it's not working properly. So we'll put this one back, and usually I'll put these off to the side so that I know those ones need to be replaced. And let's grab another pair, and let's look at these ones if they're functioning. These ones also don't appear to be functioning. There we go, now they're working. As you can see there, you get a solid image, one image per eye. Let's see if the IR boxes, we can always check these boxes to see what's going on. So that seems to be working just fine. Once again, it might just be a good candidate to replace the batteries on. Let's see if we can find one that isn't giving us any trouble. So I'll grab another pair. Bring these ones over here. And this might require a system restart because it's all of the screens in sync, giving me an issue with the 3D. Okay. So this is actually really good. We're having a lot of issues with the system that we normally don't have. So why don't we do a shutdown sequence and a restart? That's usually the fastest way to get these small bugs out of here. So I'm going to close by pressing the X key on the top, close this one as well, close down the track D, and we are going to go over here and hit stop on D track, close all that out. And specifically to make your life easier, there's the Cluster Tools service. We're going to double click on Cluster Tools service, come over here and click shut down. This will tell every single node in the cluster that it needs to shut down, hit close. It says it will shut down in less than a minute, and it is very correct. It'll take probably about 10 seconds before they all turn off, and then we'll be moving on to restarting these nodes. So things are looking good. We're down to one light on with these. Before, I think something happened where the master node just got frozen. That sometimes happens when it's left on for long periods of time or just has a bad shutdown procedure. So we're going to come over here and we're going to go back into this room. Normally you never have to do this so many times, but this is good. I'm getting all the glitches out of the system before you all have to do anything. We come back over here, we'll notice everything's shut down. We'll go ahead and turn on all of our computers. The main important thing to be is calm. There's a reason why things are not working. Sometimes the system's been on for too long or we forgot to turn it off. Sometimes there are power issues that might make parts of the system not work correctly. And most of the time, a simple restart on these nodes will fix most of your problems. We'll notice that the Xbox controller isn't connected to anything right now because it has nothing to connect to because the computer is restarting. Once again, if this was the proper shutdown procedure, I should have placed the mouse back on the charging station as well as the Xbox controller on its charging cable. We'll come back over here to the Crestron. We don't need to do anything because the displays are still on. They're just not displaying anything. Well, now they are. We can see the different screens loading up. I don't recommend turning the displays off unless you're completely done. Even though that these particular projectors are very good at what they do, they still take time to rev up and rev down. So if you turn them off and turn them on, you might be looking at roughly 60 seconds of downtime. And if you're under the gun to get something shown to a potential sponsor or some other client, just a bad idea to leave them on. We specifically purchased these projectors because they've got a lifespan of something like 40,000 hours as opposed to the old bulb ones that we had before, which were only about 3,000 hours before they would need a replacement. Also, do not be afraid to restart the computers if things are not working properly. Even if it's in the middle of a demonstration, you'll notice it's only taking me a few minutes to go through this entire procedure. And typically, you'll have someone with you, such as a faculty member or professor, who will be well versed enough in common banter that they'll be able to say something about what's going on in different projects without you needing to worry about time. So let's go to Mech again. We're going to do Mechdyne as the password. E's are 3s. Hit enter. That will then load up. Close this. Now over here, I didn't mention this. This is the Vizard Cluster Master. This is only applicable to those Vizard legacy programs that we have, but they do provide you with a connection to each of the different cluster clients. You can see all the different ones, 1 through 5 right over here. Now we're going to go ahead and open up Track D again. And then we're going to open up D Track as well. Go ahead and hit connect. And over here, that should load up. Now, this is what I'm more familiar with, is where I start it up and it's not yet started. So now we'll press the start button. It will connect to different cameras, and then we have our lights over there functioning. Great. So now coming back over here, we're going to minimize that. We're going to come over to Vizard again, open that up, and we're going to just run a test demonstration again to see whether or not this flickering problem is going to disappear. I like running the NASA demo just because it's fast and quick. Now, because we did restart the entire system, what you're going to notice is that everything is going to be pushed down to the origin of the world. Our view is, because it doesn't have a location for the camera. So this is taking a little longer than usual. Let's come back over here and take a look. It says it loaded, but I'm not seeing anything actually running. So let's go ahead and press the run button again. And then down here at the command line, you can see all the different stuff going on. Usually it should be fine. It looks like I just pressed the wrong button possibly, but now you'll notice that everything's pushed down. You can't see anything. So once again, I'm going to take those glasses in here and we're going to put them around here. Then you would cover them up as best you can, being level with the system, not like what I'm doing now. As best you can, 2 hands on these. I can't do it right now, so it's going to get distorted, but I'll fix that later on when I'm off camera. So now I've got everything being shown, and then we can, of course, we can pick up the controller and move around if we wanted to in the virtual scene. For these legacy demos, the select button over here on the side will bring up a UI menu on the bottom, which allows you to customize the speed at which you move using the D-pad, up and down, rotation to one side, and now we'll be able to move in the demonstration faster. But what we're really here for is to test those glasses to make sure that that problem has disappeared. So let's go ahead and grab one of the problem glasses that we had before and see what's going on. So I'm gonna put these glasses on my head first. And yes, 3D appears to be working just fine, as you can see right there. So that was just an issue. Now you'll notice we're getting a little bit of strobing on one of these other screens. Now this happens after usually a full shutdown and restart of the system, and it just means the screen needs to be resynced somehow. There's a couple different ways. More complicated ways are going into the NVIDIA control panel. We're going to do the easier way, which means just changing the source. And the easiest way to change the source is we have 2 different modes under routing on our Crestron controller. The first one is the VR mode, in which case we're dealing with a cluster of 6 PCs. Meeting canvas mode is a single PC that connects to all PCs, as you can see right here. Now it says restart required. Now we can use the mouse over here. I'm going to cancel that restart request. We're going to do a later on that. And what you'll notice is I already have up the different screens for the Warsaw demo displaying the different concepts of people inside of it. So you can just leave this as it is. You don't need to touch any of this stuff. But that's how you move from cave mode, which is for VR, to meeting canvas mode. And I'm going to move back to VR mode. And you'll notice when I click that, it automatically changes the USB connection to the master node so that the mouse will properly work. Do remember too that the mouse is wireless, so you can walk around with it. Now we'll take a look at our screens and we'll notice that the flickering has stopped. That will fix most flickering 9 times out of 10. The other way of doing this is resetting things in the NVIDIA control panel, which is a little bit beyond the scope of this video. We're going to go ahead and come over here. It looks like I left my USB drive in there. I'll make sure to remove that. But now we still have track D running. We still have D track running, so that's all good. Now that we've tested Vizard out, let's go to our later demonstrations, our non-legacy stuff, and we're going to go over here and click on Get Real 3D, which is also up here in that upper corner. So let's go ahead and click, oh whoops, that's the wrong one, this one right here. That opened up the cluster tool service. So now we have Get Real for Unity open up. There are two configurations you need to worry about, and one of them you'll be using 99% of the time. These are your configuration files. They route the different kinds of input into your programs. If you don't have the right configuration, the Xbox controller might not work and so forth. However, for the purposes of today, we're not going through all the different demonstrations. We're just trying to make sure we can get the system set up and play one of the canned demonstrations that automatically walks through a virtual environment for us and requires little to no input on our part. So for that, if we come up here, we click on the asterisk C-10 Fly-Sticks Xbox 360 controller. That's pretty much supporting everything that we have here. Now we can choose our different demonstrations. A green thumbs up means that it's been synced and it's been checked to work across the cluster. A thumbs down means that there was probably some kind of an error with syncing, or maybe it failed and it hasn't been updated. So if you do have a problem, you can go over to the demonstration, specifically the Warsaw demo is the one that you'll be caring about, and you can come down here and you'll notice it says update status as well as sync data. You can click on that button and it will try to sync the data across the cluster and make sure everything's fine, and if you're lucky, you'll get a thumbs up. If you're not lucky, you'll get a thumbs down, in which case it's beyond the scope of this video. But now we can come over here, we make sure we have the correct one. So C-10 Fly-Sticks Xbox 360 controller is what you want 99% of the time. However, if you do happen to need to run my Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton mixed reality demonstration, which is T-Rex skeleton 31516, you will want to run C-10 concussion. I know it says dinosaurs with trackers, but the concussion project added all the different bones necessary to make that demonstration work. I should really rename that at some point. But anyway, you will almost never need to do that. You'll be doing C-10 Fly-Stick Xbox 360 controller. You'll come down here, and when you change the configuration, you'll notice it'll go through, so it does take a few seconds for it to resync back up. And then we'll go over to Warsaw at almost at the very bottom, and then we're going to hit launch. And since you've set up the camera correctly, since you've done all that other work, it should just magically launch. You'll make sure you want to hand your glasses out before this happens, and then we will have our display. Now we're going to let this run. All the menus and stuff should disappear at this point. And you'll notice that because my camera is back further than I expect it to be, I'm actually outside of the level right there. That's why you want to make sure you sync things up right in the center. Also, you'll notice that I have the lights currently on, which you're going to want to turn off because that really screws up the screens. So as soon as I turn the lights off, everything looks far better than it did before, and the demonstration is going to run properly as expected. So if you need to stop a demonstration for any reason, if you come over to the Get Real program, you can hit stop down here, and 99% of the time it will stop the demo and remove the screen. However, every so often, for whatever reason, the frame buffer does not get updated and the last screen might be on one of the computer nodes, such as the one you see right here. If that happens, just ignore it. As soon as you run another demonstration, it will disappear. Okay, so with that, we've turned that off. Now how do we turn everything? We stopped the demonstration, now we need to turn it off. So we're gonna come up here, we're gonna close out with an X, we're gonna close out right there, we're gonna hit stop, and then we will hit cluster tool services, and then you'll click shutdown, accept, and that's it. I'm not going to do that right now because I need the system running for you all when you come in on Monday morning, in case I can't be here for some reason, in case of jury duty. But I got that up and running, I've got that up and running. I'll open up Get Real again for you, and I'll even open up, let's see, Vizard's still open as well, yes. So that's pretty much all there is to running the cave. One last thing you need to do is to make sure that after they're done with their demonstration, you take the 3D glasses and you place them back in the rack of 3D glasses because they are automatically turn on. And if you don't put them back in there, they're going to continue to be used or they're going to continue to stay on. And with them being on, the battery will drain. And next thing you know, we have no batteries for all of our glasses. Okay, that's it. Any questions, feel free to post below and I will comment as necessary. See you all next time. So long. Goodbye.